Okay, so we can call the meeting to order?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. So we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Beard.
Here.
Rath.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Ospey.
Here.
Dressler.
Here.
Fosden.
Here.
And Commissioner Wright has asked for an excused absence.
Okay, I'll make a motion to excuse.
There you go.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous, I believe. Okay, could we get an approval for the agenda?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay. Are there any conflict of interests in any of the agenda items? If not, we'll move on to correspondence.
Your Honor, there is one bit of correspondence for the public hearing from Danny Astorga regarding his property located next to the project.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not there to see any introductions, but if there is, if one of the other members would do any introductions, if there's council members or past commissioners there, appreciate it.
There's none.
Okay, we'll move on then. As a courtesy, those in attendance, we ask that cell phones be turned off or set in their silent mode. Thank you. Public appearance. Persons wishing to address the commissioners on subjects other than those scheduled are requested to do so at this time. When addressing the commissioners, please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. In order to conduct a timely meeting, a 3-minute time limit per person has been established by the Municipal Code Section 2-18. Amendments to California Government Code Section 54950 prohibit the commission from taking action on a specific item until it appears on the agenda. Following to number 1, public hearing. This is continued from January 4 of 2023, a public hearing to consider all evidence. I'm sorry, was there any public appearance? I need to go back to that in case. Okay. Public hearing to consider all evidence and testimony for or against a request by Mr. Michael West, a representative for approval of a tentative track map number 20478 located in the CRR Commercial Residential Resort Zone of 429 North K Street, Needles, California 92363, also known as Assessor's Parcel Number 018-058-0. I'm sorry, I'll start that over. Assessor's Parcel Number 018-058-15-0000 and 0185-067-15-0000 and 0660-301-13-0000 and 0185-067-200000 and 0185-109-480000 and 0186-021-01-0000. Staff report.
Yes, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission, in front of you, we have tentative track map 20478, resolution number 01/18/2023 PC. It's going to be our first resolution of the year, so this is very exciting for us. So we are recommending that the Planning Commission approve and recommend to the City Council approval of a 60-lot track map. Basically, the APN's already stated with the adoption of a mitigated negative declaration. So as you can see on the location map, it's on the Needles side as you go over towards the bridge. So the area where we're having all that traffic problems right now with the bridge closure. So it's going to be that parcel as you leave Needles on your right-hand side going over into Arizona. And if you're coming in from Arizona, it's on your left-hand side. So it's going to be the northeast corner of North K Street and Needles Highway. And Okay, and then looking at the vicinity map, zooming in, you can see that to the east, there are homes, residential homes. To the west, there are residential homes. To the east, there's the Needles Marina. So there's recreational tourism. To the north is going to be Arizona. And to the south, you'll see that it's just the city land golf course. So the aerial map, looking at what's on the screen right now, you're going to see that this is the project itself that we're talking about. The track map encumbers everything on the inside of that yellow, the yellow drawings. And so the applicant has submitted for a tentative track map of 60 lots. 58 of those lots are going to be for townhomes. And we'll get into what that looks like in a second. But basically, we want to talk about what is being presented today. And what's being presented today is a site plan of a track map. That's what's being presented to you all today with the adoption of a CEQA. And so 2 of those 60 lots, 60 parcels will be created. 2 of those are for basically wastewater, for water to drain, for drainage basins. Proposed tentative track map is for the development of townhomes and recreational vehicle community. That's what the CEQA points out. And so you'll see what that means and what that looks like in a second. But the proposed project, basically the structures are going to be from 15 to 35 feet tall. And again, we're not here to talk about the project because the project will come back, but it's important to understand what's going to go on these lots once the tentative track map is approved. And so there'll be desertscape and design and contemporary architecture and whatnot. And so we'll have Mr. West pull these up and show them to you one by one. Because I don't want to talk about the project because we're not here to talk about the project. We're here to talk about a track map. The project will come back to the planning for approval in the future. So looking at the site plan, this is a big overview of, we're going to break it down right now, but basically of the 60 parcels. So it's basically a northern section, a southern section that crosses River Road. There's various drainage basins on the north side and the south side of the parcel, but let's zoom in a little bit. This is just the lot numbers, the number of lots, and then the breakdown of the square footage for every lot. So it's important. That's the overview. Now looking more in depth, you're going to see that northern section, what I'm calling it, there's 25 lots on the northern section of River Road. And so with the commercial, there's commercial mixed in again, which is future part of the parcel. It's not what we're talking about today. There is a commercial lot on the parcel map, but looking at the northern section, you're going to see that there's 25 lots that are spread throughout there. For these potential residential homes, RV residential townhomes. And then looking at the southern lots, there's 35 southern lots on the southern side of River Road. Again, one of them is for the water drainage. And so, but the rest of the lots there will be for, again, for residential use at the site. Again, I want to add, this is the first track map that's been done in the city for at least since the 90s. So it's been quite some time. And so we're very excited about that. And so with that, the findings, the proposed land division is consistent with the general plan. So by subdividing the land division in the area does meet the current zoning standards in order for this to occur. So the designation will eventually have to be a PUD, which will happen with the general plan update, which is being proposed at the council in February. And so eventually a PUD will have to take place for this project to occur, a planned unit development. I hate using acronyms, but a planned unit development, because of the size of the lots, makes this a unique project. And so it doesn't fit within our development standards, but in the future, when the project itself comes forward, it will meet the standards with the PUD designation that will be later adopted with the land use circulation element, which is being presented to you February 1st and then to the council for adoption. But at this day today, it does meet the current, and it will in the future, the current general plan and city code land division standards. The second finding, the site is physically suitable for the type of development. So It being, the lot being able to be divided into those 60 different lots does make sense. All the parcels meet the lot area, square footage, and the requirements of the Needle City Code, so it does meet the code. The design of the subdivision as proposed improvements will not cause substantial environmental damage. As part of your packet, you received a very thick document, which we've been working on since August. It's a very in-depth document. It has all the different studies that are required. It's called the initial study, mitigated negative declaration. And so this has been reviewed by the public. It's gone out for tribal consultation. It's gone through the entire steps of CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act requirements. And so we have, based on studies and in-depth analysis, it will not cause substantial environmental damage. So with the mitigation measures that have been put into place and being proposed with the project, so it does adhere to these mitigation measures. As long as the project does adhere to these mitigation measures, it will not cause substantial environmental damage. So it's able to move forward. The design of the subdivision or type of improvements will not cause serious public health problems. So being enclosed in the location that it's at, there are no pesticides, chemicals, or there are no public health problems with the project coming to fruition. And so going on to the environmental, we just talked about from November 9th until December 9th, it went out for public review to adopt this ISMND pursuant to the CEQA guidelines. And so there was one comment received when we did go out from the Department of Toxic Substances Control. So within this CEQA, so you're required to, when you receive comment letters, you have to comment back. And so the applicant has responded to these comments within this document and have answered and removed any kind of issues that create any kind of significant impacts to the environment with these mitigation monitoring program, which is on condition number 17. And so basically with the mitigation measures that are found within this document and in the conditions of approval, we're able to move this project forward. And so it has received its environmental clearance with the approval of this document. So tonight, you're going to recommend that to the city council that this ISMND move forward based on the analysis that I've given you. And we've also got our CEQA consultant on the line if you've had any questions for him, but it passed the test. So, and it also pursuant to Assembly Bill 52, which requires us to have tribal consultation. So we did go out and put it out. Again, you've got to reach out to all the tribes that are previously that are impacted by projects. And so we have notified the 5 tribes and no responses were received. And so no consultation was deemed, but you got to give an opportunity for consultation to occur.
Excuse me, Patrick,
Yes, ma'am.
can you, is my mic on or do you want?
Yes,
me to-
ma'am.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Can you tell me where you are on the staff report?
No, I'm not. Well, it's
You're
all
not
sprinkled.
going in order on anything on here, right?
Well, I'm not going to go.
summarizing-
No, this is an outline. I can point you in the direction of where we're at. In terms.
Well, I
of
just
the-
got the the environmental paragraph, and again, you deviated from the outline and the numbered paragraphs here. So I'm just asking if you're doing that, that's fine. I just want to know if there's anything in here I can follow along with while you're talking.
Oh, no, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. No, that's for you to take home. I'm just going to outline. We give you these packets in advance with the staff report to give you the nitty and gritty, and I'm just going to go over the outline of it all, and then we can talk about where these things are in the document. But I'm just outlining it all, going through it. So our recommended action is to approve resolution number 0118 2023 PC, recommending to the city council approval of a 60 lot tract map for 58 single family resident townhome for recreational vehicle pads on the assessor parcel number 0660-301-13000, 0185-058-15000, 0185-067-15000. I got a couple more. 0185-067-200000, 0186-021-0000, 0185-0 1094800 and adoption of this mitigative negative declaration and mitigation monitoring reporting program. With that, I now stand with any questions. The applicant actually has a presentation. And so I'd like to invite if it's okay with the chair, I'd like to, before I opened up for any questions, because he might be able to answer something that I'm not able to answer. But if we can invite the applicant up here to show us, I want him to show you when I talk about RV park, or sorry, single family town homes, recreational vehicle pads, what does that mean? And so I wanted him to give you an opportunity to do a presentation and talk about his project. And
Okay, we can invite the applicant up, state your name and address, please, and then we can combine your information along with the applicant. That'll probably save some time, correct? The applicant would come up, please.
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Jeffrey,
Go ahead.
Jeffrey West, 2069 Los Lagos Drive, Fort Mojave, Arizona.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did you have a generalization of the project itself, or are you open to questions, or how would you like? I think there was a question that came up whether it's single-family townhomes, not an RV park or RV pads, only when combined with the single-family townhomes, correct?
Yes, what this is single family residence with RV pull-through garages. About 90% of the lots are designed for pull-through RV boats, recreational vehicles. So these are actually single-family residents with an option if you wanted to have, if you do have a motorhome and you would like to stay in it, your kids or whatnot, and you do rent a smaller home or buy a smaller home, you have the option to stay in the motorhome as well as the home. So you can use the swimming pool, you can use the amenities of the kitchen, the actual home, the smaller home, 800 square foot up to 2,000 square foot, and also use your motorhome. If you don't have a motorhome, you can bring your car. You can bring your razors, your motorcycles. A lot of the projects in Bullhead City and Lake Havasu, you have to have motorhomes, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to lose the clientele with that have motorcycles and don't have motorhomes. So we designed this for single family residents, for every person that wants the active lifestyle. You know, we're at the river, and there's no reason to not let people stay here because they don't have a motorhome. So that's why the RV in there. So we don't kick them out. We're inviting other people as well. And if there's any questions.
Does the commission have any questions for staff or the applicant?
Chair? This is Kevin.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have not really a question, but I love the looks of the development.
Yeah.
The only, I mean, to me, it's like ultra modern, monolithic. I mean, it's great. The only problem with this in the renderings in here in our packet, the only problem with this rendering, it's squashing everything around and bringing that up so it even promotes it more. But hey, I love that. And to me, if I hadn't seen the renderings and just read what it was going to be, I wouldn't have got this look. And to me, we have nothing, and I've never really seen anything in this surrounding area quite like it. I love the design of this project.
There is nothing like this. My family's been in the development business for 60 years. My grandpa stopped at Needles after World War II. And my family has done developments in Bullhead, Lake Havasu, London Bridge Resort. So I came up with this because I didn't want to do a bunch of apartments like everybody else.
Right.
It's the river, and you have to think differently because Needles is different, you know, and everyone has toys. And it's hard to back up a big 40-foot motorhome with a trailer. I mean, you have to be a professional truck driver and dead sober to do it. So that's why I made these pull-through garages, for the safety of the individual, plus the security. You lose a prop or your radio, someone steals it, your weekend shot.
Yeah.
Well, at the Riverlux, we're not going to have that problem. So I wanted to, so this does not exist in Bullhead, Havasu. This is it. So this is a one of a kind development.
Yeah, and I think your location being right next to the golf course also. I mean, you've got a golf course drivable community.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so happy to see something like this come to the town.
Thank
know,
you.
I think it's just wonderful.
Thank you. And what our thought, Lillian and Salcedo and Mike West, me, is once you get to the Riverlux, to get in your golf cart.
Yeah.
And go to the supermarket, grocery store, convenience store, and get your steaks and your wine and your ice and go back to the Riverlux and barbecue.
Yeah.
And then go golfing and then launch your boat. And it's a very active community. You know, I'm not trying to build something that the guy's, 80 years old and sitting on the patio drinking an iced tea, not doing nothing. You know, this is for the people that want to get on the water, want to go out on their razors. And that's what Needles is. You know, this is an active city.
You're only
So-
missing one thing,
What's that?
pickleball court.
Well, the sun deck, what I designed, if you want to,
He's got it.
this is called the sun deck.
Growing sport in the United States.
This is called the Riverlux Sun Deck. So this is on top of the RV garage.
Yeah.
So what I tried to do is keep the homes a little bit smaller, about 2,000 square feet, but have outdoor living area of 3,500 square foot. So what the home will actually act like it's 5,000 square foot of use, but only 2,000 square foot of vacuuming and windows and maintenance. So I tried to combine the mansion with the usable, livable, affordable home.
I think it's beautiful.
And you put a pickleball court up there.
You could play cornhole up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's for Lillian Salcedo.
Okay.
I'd like to make a
Finish that?
comment if I could.
Yes, sir.
I really like it too, because not that there's anything wrong with the cultivation. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but I like the fact that it's going to diversify the tax base, the economy, what you will. And I think what Needles has to offer is the recreation. And I'm hoping that people driving through the town, when they see your development, somebody else might get the idea, hey, maybe I could do something like that too, because I think that's really what this town has to offer. When I tell people I live in Needles, a lot of them scratch their head, where's that? And the ones I've brought out here, they're amazed. Oh, this is beautiful. You got the Jack Smith Marina, the water's deep here. They love it, so this might be a nice start to get more similar projects in this town.
I think that's true. And thank you very much. And that was my hopes and dreams, was to let this be the first step to explode the city into big multi-billion-dollar companies coming out here and throwing big money into the city and building beautiful projects. Palm Desert and Indian Wells, and they have the same weather. It might be a little hotter here, but oh well. But they have the beautiful landscaping and they don't have the river. So
We have river, yeah.
you guys have more, and that's what I'm trying to do is say, hey, you know what? This is California. This is the river. This is it. So why shouldn't Needles have something that no one else has? And I'm trying to bring that is what I'm trying to do. And I hope that I succeed and help the city grow and bring in revenue and other developers.
Okay, Will, did you have any other questions?
No, that's all I've got.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Your Honor. Barbara Beard,
Go ahead, Ms. Beard.
unless somebody else would like to go before me. No reaction.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Somebody's handing me paper. I don't want to miss anything here. They're beautiful. I'll look at them in a minute. So we were given 45 conditions of approval here. Okay. And the first 20, I was told, are the ones that the city put on. And the 21 through the rest are from his CEQA. So although I spent time, I wasn't told that until this week, until Monday or Tuesday. So until that time, I was questioning a lot of issues in here, as you know. One of them, there's only one left right now. There's actually two, but the one that's in all of these are the hours that you're holding him to, the working hours. And we discussed that, okay? So he's committed to, in your conditions, 8 to 6 or something, or 8 to 5. So we have a problem here with that because of the weather, okay? The city manager, for the record, has left the premises. So, Mr. West, would you like to address that?
Yes, thank you. My family has built schools and shopping centers in Southern California, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, La Quinta. It's very hot, same weather as the river. And what we did is in the summertime, it's so hot. We started work at 1:30 in the morning, and you would get off about 9, 10, depending on what, 115, OSHA shuts you down, 118. So I would like to keep that open for the summertime, for the months of the summer, if we can have some kind of variance on that. That way, if I'm in the middle of construction, I can get some hours of relief for my workers, nighttime or something like that and it would only be for the summertime. It wouldn't be during the winter. It's perfect. It's just those hot times. And
So what I would suggest, Madam Chair, is that we add on to our resolution a provision that his hours will be flexible, subject to city manager approval.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Well,
Aye.
actually,
It's going to be whoever makes the
actually, I was
motion.
gonna say, this is in the motion. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, now there's one other major issue. I'm just making a note here. And that is, I have a question regarding the zoning, land use. And would anybody else like to speak to this first before I do?
I'm not sure when, hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
It's still the discussion
Just
for
a
the
second,
planning commission.
Barbara, go ahead.
Okay, somebody else was speaking. Bob Rath is on Zoom, so I didn't know if he wanted to speak to this before I do.
No, go ahead. Or Bob, did you?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right, so I have an issue with the zoning. I'd like to open it for discussion, or at least have my say about it, okay, whether we end up leaving it or changing it. My concern is that we are approving, I have lots of paper here. We're approving the public urban, what is it called, the PUD?
Yeah, plan unit
The
development.
planned unit development as a totally new zoning code, I understand, for the land use, right?
No, it currently exists.
Okay, so you
the-
sent me a copy of our current copy of the municipal code, our current sections, code sections, which set forth the columns, the charting of all of our zone codes and all of the land uses under those zone codes, okay? This project has all of those except the PUD. It doesn't exist in it yet, okay? You're saying in the paperwork that you have to wait until it comes back to us, you come to us for a planned unit development addition to our zoning code. Okay, that's what your conditions in here state. And you told me that meeting is going to be scheduled for February 1, and it's scheduled for city council approval February 14. Is that correct?
So hold on. So I think we're working, let
Okay,
me,
I'm not, okay, so if you don't understand what I'm saying, never mind, I'm not done speaking.
Okay.
Forget I asked you if that's correct, okay? Now I have a map here I'd like to have Dale pass around to the members. It's a map of the zones of all of the parcels, or we can just, I think, properly have Dale pass it.
I have one here that you might be able to read better.
Bigger. Be a small copy. Now, if you look at I'll give you a quick summary of this, okay? What we have here is we have 3 designations under our land use or under our zones, okay? We have a C2, we have a CCR, and we have a R3, okay? Under the findings the city made, those zones do exist on this project. So the city already agrees with me on that issue, okay? 3 different zones. If you look at our zone chart, this is what our municipal code looks like on the zone chart. We've probably all seen a copy of that, okay? So if you look at the zone chart on page 451, we have R3, CR, and C2. Those are all, and the definitions all include what his zones are under the C2, the CR, and the R3. All of them say planned residential development. So I submit that he already has the zoning he needs. And of course, he wouldn't have gone to all this money and investment and time trying to develop on land he wasn't zoned for already. That's just a foregone conclusion as far as I'm concerned. And the only thing he has to do is get a permit from city council, which is, you know, we're the predecessor to getting that permit. So I'm concerned that you're making him wait another 2 weeks to get to February 1. A month, 2 weeks, let's say. And then another 2 weeks after that, which will be another month delay. If we're waiting, and that assumes that you do get these meetings on those dates, we're waiting for you to do an additional element to our new general plan that doesn't yet exist in order to have him be able to start work, okay? And I object to that. I think he's ready to be approved now without that change. I think that we can do that, or if we want to, we can make approval now and subject to change later when you get this PUD designation. But nowhere in our code, in our municipal code, does it say that designation exists right now. And your findings say that it doesn't. It says that you're going to be doing it, and he will have that designation. I think I've said enough. Does anybody not understand what I'm saying? I think we can approve this now without it being dependent on you redesignating the zone for that area. And I don't disagree that it's nice to have that zone, because there are nice, beautiful descriptions on the internet about what a PUD is and how it is the modern thing to do to try and get resort designation activities going on around lakes and rivers and whatever, probably on the ocean too. So PUD is a nice description, but it shouldn't hold up this project for we can't predict when you're going to get this done. And he shouldn't have to wait for it when he's already in order. Thank you. Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. West?
I agree. Thank you. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Already caused delay.
I've been working on this 2.5 years. My family has owned this property almost 25 years. So I'm very familiar with the river. I'm bringing one of the nicest projects around, not only in the tri-state area, but in California. A project doesn't exist like this. Developers don't want drive-through garages because they take up a lot of land. But you guys have to have that because it's something special, because of the location you're in. So I designed this. It just didn't happen overnight. You know, this has been years and years and years in the making. So the quickest, I would love approval as soon as possible, please.
Okay, any other questions? Bob, did you have any questions?
I asked to be recognized.
No, I
Madam
don't.
Chair. I've got a question.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead, Will.
As far as the grading, I was just curious, as you probably know, those streets are the access to get to Jack Smith. While you're grading, will the public still have access, or is the access going to be blocked by equipment and whatnot?
No, what we'll do is we will not block off access when we bring in the sewer and water down North K Street and River Road. There'll still be access around Bridge Street. So there'll always be access, ingress and egress per fire department and the city. I'd like to do that work at night as well. And not only for the heat, but for the traffic, because North K Street is 15,800 cars a day, one of the busiest intersections. So in my experience, working at night is less traffic. It's safer for the worker, and you can actually get a lot more done. Obviously, we'll have the safety cones and lights up, but
Right.
that's one reason why the night, having that open for those hours would be very important as well for safety and whatnot.
It's not a bad idea as long as the noise doesn't bother anybody. That's the only problem that I could see with that.
Yeah, there's there's mostly commercial around there with the new boat storage that the Needles Marina built. It's going to kind of block the sound from going that way as well. You have maybe 4 or 5 houses on North K Street. We would be several hundred feet up above, bringing in sewer and whatnot. So we'll keep the noise down to a minimum and safety up high and get in and get out of there as quick as possible.
So the access to Jack Smith is not going to be affected.
It will not be affected. The triangle
Go.
piece, there's 2 points of access around my property. You have Bridge Street, which is up North K Street. As you're going over the bridge in Arizona, you make a quick right. That goes down towards the golf course, or you can take River Road straight across. So we have 2 points of access. It'll never be shut off by me, both of them at once.
Yeah, I see. There was a gentleman that asked a question. I don't know if you saw this. He said that he owns 2 lots behind 419th North K Street.
Yes,
He's
I had my
asking if he's still going to have his easement to his properties or not.
There's no easement on my property. There's no easement on his property. The gentleman purchased those lots 2021. They were landlocked when he bought them. I spoke to my title company, my engineer. We've investigated it, and there's no access. His sister owns the home up above that, in front of it, so he can get an easement from her, or do a deal with her. And I don't know why he's looking at me. So yes, I have addressed that.
Okay.
I believe Danny Astorga is on the line, so when we get to the public comment period, he'll be
Yeah.
able to, he's gonna probably want to address that a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay,
Madam Chair, this is Kevin. I have a question.
yes, go ahead, Kevin.
I'd like to have either Patrick or that other gentleman respond to Barbara's question, because I understood that a CRR zone was kind of all encompassing and a PUD was allowed in that. That was my understanding for years. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I always understood it, that in a CRR, basically, if you got the permitting, anything would go in that. Am I wrong?
Right, so, Madam Chair,
Go
may I?
ahead, Patrick.
All right, so as Commissioner Beard pointed out, so let's start here. Go to page 1 on your CEQA document, and it says.
Excuse me, can I interrupt real quick?
No, 1 second. I will get back to the applicant. So let me finish my, so and the applicant was aware from the beginning of this requirement. And so we can get back to the applicant in a second, but to answer your question, the proposed site is anticipated to have a land use designated PUD because the western parcels that are within this designation that's not currently properly designated with the commercial lot. So by mixing in residential with,
Pete, we just said, I missed it.
so the commercial designation
The
mix in
CRR.
with residential together on the same parcel doesn't exist within the code right now.
Gotcha.
Yes, it does. It's right here. It's under, we have, on these codes, we have R3, and you've said it right on the staff report. He is zoned R3. It's on this map. He has the bigger copy of it. It's R3 right down here, okay? That's the only part that's R3. The rest, this is C2, 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 CRR, and CRR, the bigger parcels. Say that in your findings, okay? On the municipal code, this is a copy of the municipal code that I got from you yesterday, okay? And this is the table that I'm very familiar with after all these years that we all know about. R3, CR, and C2, all 3 of those are up here. And this designates whether you have to get a permit or not, which is what he is doing. It says planned residential development. Go to the city council and get a permit. But all those codes, or you don't have to do anything, okay, for C2, but all these codes are right there and they've always been there.
David, please take a moment to respond.
Who are you talking to?
My consultant, the person who helped us write these regulations. So, Chair, I'd like you to, if we could recognize David Christie, he could articulate it in a way that probably better than I can. But
Or
Uh,
better than
Hey,
our
David,
municipal
do you want
code?
to respond to that?
Absolutely. So of these 6 parcels, it is our understanding that 3 of them are zoned CRR, 1 is zoned R3, and 2 of them are zoned C2. Looking at the permitted use table, the C2 zone does not permit, as written, the type of residential
You're
development that was
cutting
being
out, you're cutting
proposed.
out. The C2 does not permit what?
The type of development that was being proposed, which would be the residential portion or even an RV park.
Can you place that on the documents for me someplace?
Yeah, so go to your permissible use table and then go to residential on the first page. And then go to C2 and you'll see that no residential is allowed within the C2 zone.
I don't see, there is, this is not residential, it's R3.
So, oh, go ahead, David.
And it doesn't say it's not allowed. That's not what that says. Go ahead.
So because two parcels of this site is currently C2, C2 does not allow for the type of residential development that is being proposed within the CEQA document.
Townhomes. Go ahead.
That is what is necessitating the zone change. And by making everything as part of a PUD, the development standards for the entire site can be consistent. So that way, when the lots are split, we will not have portions in R3, portions in R2, and portions in CRR.
Madam Chair, may I address that?
Go ahead.
I would like to know what evidence you have that the townhome designation, or by our own code, we also call it planned residential development, is not allowed in a C2 zone designation. Can you pull up the California zone code or anything else that tells me that that's not permitted? Or better yet, a copy of our own municipal code describing that use in more detail? The townhomes.
David, I'm gonna pull up the permissible use table. And I'll share that with the folks, and that way it's more clear. Second. And again, this is all within the CEQA document that the applicant provided us, that we've worked on for over 2 years now. And so if
You're
this
in
is,
front of the planning commission right now.
no, I understand. Is this an issue that the applicant has, or is this an issue that the planning commissioner has?
I've already addressed that with the applicant a few moments ago, and he said he would like to proceed rather than get held up.
Oh,
We
we'd
already
love,
answered
yeah,
that.
sorry, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, may I?
Go ahead.
In front of you, you've got the permissible use table. Within the zones that are being presented to the council, or excuse me, to the planning commission, townhomes, C2 are not allowed. And so in areas that where the project does have the C2 zone, we'll have some of those pads that are for recreational or for the residential use. And so all we're trying to do here, and we worked with the applicant to get this done through the general plan update. And so Planning Commissioner Beard is correct that if the planning commission and city council do not approve a PUD for his parcel, it will slow down his project. But the intent is that it makes sense for that area to be a PUD to help bolster development within our community. We are short residential homes here. We are short a track map since the 90s. And so we've worked with the applicant to get us to where we need to go as expeditiously as possible and to get them past the finish line and where they needed to go. We had coupled up this land use designation, which is required. He can go do it on his own per the project requirements. But we had put it as part of the package for the land use update because the intent of the general plan is to create economic development opportunities. We've been working on that for 2 years as well. And we've gone out to the public and we need more homes. We're lacking development good homes here, brand new homes that haven't been built since the 90s. And so by getting this project past the finish line, by bridging it with the land use element, we had got the project to where it needs to be, which is in front of you all today. Because if he had to go and do it on his own, based on his project, he can change this track map to help accommodate our code, but that would only slow him down. So what we're telling the planning commission today, based on the facts that we have in front of you and the facts that we have in our conditions of approval, is that this project can move forward with your approval today.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead. I just wanted to ask the applicant, I mean, so he's aware of this and he's okay with it. Is that correct?
Okay with moving forward
Yeah.
as quickly as
leaving-
possible?
Yeah,
Yes, I would like to move forward as quickly as possible.
okay.
You know, my project has commercial property, which we're doing a shopping center and retail and some drive-throughs and whatnot. One little portion of it is commercial that we're going to do. I think there's 7 residential lots. So it's not like I'm taking in the middle of an industrial park and saying, I want to build houses here. You know, it's all part of the Riverlux. It's all part of one development.
Part of the development.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you. Barbara, you had a question?
Yes, I still don't understand what Mr. Christie said when he just stated that this planned unit development, these townhomes are not allowed in a C2. I do not see that on our list of codes here. And I think that we have the ability to conditionally approve based on the zones that he already owns, that he already is zoned in, the existing permitted uses, to approve the project to go forward. So he doesn't have to wait for your PUD designation and get it approved, deemed approved when you get that designation, and allow him to proceed. It's going to be another month or more delay while you get that approved through city council. It has to come to us and then city council. And I'm not satisfied that I'm not seeing that I had the C2 designation under the California zoning codes, and I just can't find it right now. But according to C2 zoning codes in the state of California, this does qualify as a permitted use. And it's all geared toward the whole resort and what is naturally going to evolve around a resort area for a lake or a river. So it's the perfect setting, as we all know. It's a beautiful setup. We are agreeing with everything you said, that we need this development. We haven't had development in 30 to 40 years. I can't wait for this to open. We have a grocery store and convenience store going in here. And to hold this gentleman up, to hold this project up while you rewrite part of the general plan or the zoning map, I don't understand that. And I am asking that we can move to go forward, and you can come back and change the designation wherever you need, whenever you get it approved.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I think we're at a misunderstanding. So the track for this track map, no pun intended, the track for this track map is to go to you tonight, get your approval. If you so believe to approve it, it will go to the council on the 14th for approval, which is the 24th. It's going next week. I just need to tee it up and get it written up if it gets approved tonight, recommended or not. It's going to council next week for approval. Once it's approved at the council, we're off to the races. So
Patrick, then if I'm going to interrupt you just a second. So this is going to the council the way it's written, including the PUD. So you're saying that once it's approved tonight and the council, then it already includes that PUD designation. Is that correct?
it won't include the PU designation. The PUD is a requirement of the project,
Yeah.
The PUD is a requirement of the project to be built. It's not a requirement of the track map.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
no reason not to.
that's right. I got it.
Now excuse me,
Sorry.
Madam Chair, was that cause because of the CEQA, correct?
Well, no,
No.
that's because
No.
he wants to have a commercial use.
Okay, commercial
in a
and residential.
Or in a,
Right,
in a- in
both.
the- or,
It's
excuse me,
combining the two
flip.
uses.
Yeah.
You're right, okay.
Because the type of use doesn't fit in, but that's not, and I'm sorry for not making that clear. It doesn't slow you down tonight. You're going to the council next week for approval. Once that track map is approved at the council, you've got your tentative track map.
Yeah.
So the
But I don't
project itself-
have final approval until February 14th. If we have, because it has to go,
24th.
told
24th,
me
next
that-
week.
but that's not what you just said. You said it has to go back to the planning on the 1st of February. Correct?
No.
For the
you-
PUD.
Finish your question so I can.
And
answer.
then on the 14th, it has to go to the commission for the PUD.
Madam Chair, may I?
And
No.
I'm saying is, I own all the property. You know, when you do rezoning, in my mind, you know, my family's been in development for over 60 years. Built a lot of shopping centers and schools in California, thousands of buildings. And in my mind, you do zoning, you have problems with zoning with that when you have a problem with the development. I own all the property, you know, and I'm not trying to change anything to make it worse. And I think I met all the zonings, and I just would like to get this permitted so I can break ground and get something done here in Needles. Some first track map in 30 years. And it's, you know, I'm just looking for
So,
approval.
Mr. West, yeah, like as of tonight, your track plan would be approved. You can move forward. I think where the question's coming in, and Patrick, you can correct me, is the PUD. And that's a part of the new general plan. Is that correct?
Yes,
And so he can move forward and then to the council, and if it's approved, his track map is all set in stone. Then with this PUD, which is part of the general plan, that goes on the agenda in February.
the first meeting in planning commission would be February 1st. And then
and
the second meeting in February 14th for council.
Yeah, but I mean, then this PUD, I mean, he automatically is going to be approved for that. We're trying to just get it approved into the general plan. Is that correct?
So, well, I can't guarantee approval of anything, and neither can this board without it going in front of the board. But what we can say is that the project itself requires a PUD based on the type. And again, this is why in the beginning I said I don't want to get stuck with the project because we're not talking about the project here. We're talking about the track map.
Mhm.
So the only piece that's encompassing the project is the CEQA, which allows him to have no more environmental for the project, which we're talking about these 3-story homes and the 2-story homes and the 1-story homes and the contemporary look. So that's part of the project, which is part of the CEQA, which tonight you are moving forward. The project is moving forward with environmental clearance with the recommendation
Right.
of this document tonight. Now, the track map can move forward tonight with the current zoning designations with the C2 zone, the R3 zone, and the CRR zone. The only way the planning commission is able to approve that is if a track map is approvable we couldn't bring something in front of you without it being approvable. And so the track map tonight is approvable the way it stands. It's when you bring the project into it that you want to put certain uses in certain areas,
Has nothing to do with the.
which has nothing to do with the
But
track map.
that I think is what's made this convoluted because you're saying it's not the project and yet you've brought the project in.
it was in, Madam Chair. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was just important for the, we wanted, the applicant wanted to share with the planning commission the vision of those 60 lots. Because right now we're talking about 60 dirt lots.
Yeah.
That's what's in front of you tonight, are 60 dirt lots with an environmental clearance document.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
then why did you give us 45 conditions of approval?
Okay, we can, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the CEQA document also goes into, here, and I can pull up my presentation. Because the
Question on, but Patrick, excuse me for interrupting, but the whole CEQA document is sort of inconsequential because that was all a non-issue. So we can just say that has been approved and there's no CEQA issues. But then as you get into and explaining it all, it almost sounds like then we should be looking for something in the CEQA.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
So the last page of this CEQA document has a letter from the Department of Toxic Substances Control, which was needed to be addressed in the CEQA document, which then led to further testing by the applicant. And so we went ahead, the applicant went ahead and hired construction testing engineering to do soils testing at 10 various sites. And so there were findings from that testing that needed to have mitigation measures that are included in those conditions of approval of tonight. So maybe I kind of, yeah, so for instance, one of them is prior to site grading activities, the project applicant shall submit documentation approved to the city engineer that arsenic impacted soils have been evacuated, disposed of, licensed facility within confirmation sampling that the remaining soil does not have arsenic concentrations and are below the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency regional screening levels and Department of Toxic Substances Control modified screening levels. So the soils tests that were done, the sampling that was done by the applicant required further mitigation measures because the soil itself had arsenic in it and levels that needed to be addressed based on the testing that the applicant did. And so by having these conditions and these mitigation measures, the applicant is able to rectify what's currently occurring on the site.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
the applicant did those soil tests voluntarily after the city manager said they were not necessary, didn't he?
No, that is not true.
Did you voluntarily do these soil tests after being told it was not necessary for the planning commission or the city council?
Yes,
Did the Department of Toxic Substance Abuse inform you that there was nothing that you had to do, anything further that you had to do?
correct. I have an email from the DTSC that says that there's nothing they need from me.
And so as a result of the soils tests that you did voluntarily, in spite of the fact that you were not required to do them, they discovered that there was excessive arsenic and lead, which we all know is in just about all soil around here, probably all over the United States, but it was over the level that would have been acceptable. So now you're going to alleviate that. You're taking additional measures to make sure that doesn't exist anymore. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know why you brought that up, but I told you and understand what you're doing here is you have a motion before us to approve the tentative track map, okay? And I would like to make that motion separate and apart from the project. I do not know which one of the 45 conditions in here that we have all reviewed that to me laboriously. You've told me that conditions 21 and subsequent thereto to the end, that's about 25 of these conditions that you gave us in here are included in the CEQA. So the CEQA would have been adopted anyway. So I don't know why we had to go through all these 45 conditions when apparently only the first 20 were relevant to the staff findings, other than beyond saying the rest were voluntarily included in the CEQA study. All right. So what I'd like, I would like to make a motion whenever the chair is ready.
Well, no, we're just doing questions right now to the
Okay.
applicant and the staff.
Okay,
So, but
Madam-
there are no, oh,
Sorry.
go ahead, Will.
Madam Chair, may I be recognized? I have a question for Patrick and
Yes, go
probably
ahead.
the applicant.
Yes,
Okay,
go ahead.
Patrick, so basically to cut to the chase, I think the applicant wants to know, when is he going to be able to have an actual permit so he can break ground? Does he have to wait until this PUD gets approved? Or with the tract approval, will he get a permit to get started breaking ground? And is the PUD a separate issue that's not going to stop him from getting a permit like a week from now?
Well, right now, this isn't the final step. So Mr. West will actually come back for a final track map. And so if you look at your conditions of approval, there are conditions that are required for him to actually have in his final track map so that he can get this moving forward. And so even if he wanted to go break ground on a project tomorrow for the next week, or even after approved by council on the 14th, he still does not have a final track map. And so this would, the applicant has asked us for the, the applicant has gotten to this step so he can move forward in financing and doing what he needs to do to make this project real. So the next step would to be including the required conditions that are in here so that he can actually do a final track map. So this won't be the last time. And if you go to condition number 4 on page 4, so basically prior to issuance of any building permits, so we've got to add these comments onto the final track map. So he doesn't actually have a final track map. And so the final track map will show all easements. And so this is just a step in the direction of getting his final track map, because this is a tentative track map. So what's in front of you today is the tentative approval of those lots. And so what will happen next is he'll get his engineer involved. He'll create a final track map with all these required per the code, these requirements that he's supposed to have for a final track map on this Palomar sheet, which is about yay big, which will show his track. So actually it's going to look like his submittal, but he'll have notes on the side of it that have the final requirements of his final map. So this is actually only step 1. So we will move as fast as the applicant wants to move for his final track map. And so that's not gonna, the only thing that will slow his final track map down is not getting approval tonight and not getting approval at the city council. That would be the only thing that would slow down his process to move this forward. Because this isn't, like I'd mentioned, this isn't the last time you're gonna see this. You're gonna see a final track map that his engineer will put together. Our engineer will sign off on it, and then we'll move it forward. So, and the final track map will be recorded with the county. And so it will be at the level of, a level at which that we've signed off on it. And the county will then be recorded with the county, and it will be recognized so that he can have 60 lots at his site.
So I heard the date February 24th mentioned somewhere back there.
Yeah, so, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
All right, so when we talk about this,
Council meeting?
what's that?
That was the council meeting?
Yes, ma'am. So when we talk about the planned unit development, Commissioner Beard wanted us to approve it tonight so we could just move the project forward, which technically isn't doable because it still needs to have final track map. Now, the planned unit development is a land use that is required based on the project that is within the CEQA. So even though the project isn't in front of you tonight, the city still needed to review the entire project as a whole to get the environmental clearance. So we had to take it all into account. If you, on this page 1, you'll see that a general, the scope of work, the project description is a requirement of the CEQA document. And so he was required to outline, and that way, when we circulate the document, the various agencies that are involved understand what is being built at that site. When we do, or what is the planned development? If he were to do something different that is in this project description, would be and I'm not a CEQA specialist or anything like that, but my understanding is that he would have to, it would be required to amend his CEQA, but this is what he's proposed, this is what he's gone all in on, and this is what's approved in the CEQA document. And so when we talk about plan unit development, the project that is identified in the CEQA is required to have a general plan designation, zoning designation that allows for that use to occur. If I want to drive a car, I need to get a license. So in order for him to have this project, he has to have a license and the right license to be able, excuse me, that's a bad analogy. If I want to drive a 16-wheeler, I've got to go get a special license. He wants to put
But you said, Patrick, that there's not an issue with the CEQA.
That's correct. No,
So I don't understand why you keep bringing up the CEQA.
because the project is within the CEQA.
Right.
And so that's why it's important to talk about the project, because the CEQA, and that's the only reason we're talking about the project tonight, is because it's being adopted and the conditions of approval are being adopted within the CEQA, which we then put into the resolution. So you're seeing a resolution that has requirements for the project and also requirements for a final track map. That way, hopefully it's not as long, but say 10 years from now, I mean, however long, I mean, say we've got maps that if were approved in the 90s and never went anywhere. I don't foresee this occurring because Mr. West and his team are very motivated. And so I'm very thankful for that. But we need, by having the conditions in the resolution, I can go to the resolution. I don't need to go find a CEQA document that has the information. So I'm answering a bunch of questions that have been raised. So I'm just trying to knock them all out.
Right.
And so basically, to answer your question, the reason why we're talking about the plan unit development, because it's tied to the project, which is in the CEQA.
Right, but I was trying to see if we could give Mr. West some kind of a hard start date so he can plan a little bit, which I'm sure you probably would like to know, okay, this is when I can expect to break ground and have a permit.
Yes, that would be nice. As soon as possible would be good. I have investors, I have people wanting these and wanting to do this with me, besides me and my family. So, we've been working on this night and day, 7 days a week for 2.5 years. So I'm, the zoning on the CRR is zoned 40 per acre, 40 units per acre. I have about 10 acres that is zoned CRR. So that's equivalent to 400 units. I'm only building 58 on 14 acres. So, the zoning, I'm way under zoned. I'm so far under zoned, it's almost, developers don't do that. They do the opposite. I'm kind of the opposite, you know what I mean? Because it's needles. So, so when we're saying the zone changes, I'm way under zone. I'm giving up a lot. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's, in my mind, I don't think it's an issue. I think,
My understanding, it's not the mass, it's the combined uses.
yeah.
But a great project, yeah.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
the language in the CEQA that Patrick keeps referring to is almost identical to what was provided to us in the resolution and the conditions of approval. Okay? The language could only have come from the city. So the CEQA was based on what the city informed the CEQA people was the deal. Okay? And I'd like to read that. It says, and this is the project description that Patrick was talking about that had to go out to the world when we sent project CEQAs out. Second sentence, the city is currently updating its land use element. Okay, this had to have come from the city. It's not anything that the applicant dreamed up. Combining its land use and zoning designations, which is a brand new concept. They're going to eliminate, from what I understand, Patrick told me, the general plan map and the zone map and combine them, okay? And that is what this says, combining its land use and zoning designations, because some of them conflict. That's what I was told. And we usually have to make some kind of adjustment. We frequently do when we have projects going on and we have to change designations for certain smaller projects. The proposed project site is anticipated to have a land use designation and zoning designation of planned unit development at the time of project construction. At the time of, it's anticipated at the time of project construction. That would begin with grading. At present, when the CEQA was done, the proposed project requires a general plan amendment to change the existing land use and zoning designations to PUD. That language could only have come from the city to tell an applicant that they have to wait for a land use or general plan amendment was not something that would come from the applicant. The city told them that. That's very clear. And we have this language come to us frequently. We're waiting on general plan amendments, okay? And then we approve those amendments as they come in. So it's waiting on a general plan amendment to change the existing land use and zoning designations to PUD. Okay, so that is the language in the CEQA to which you are referring. Is that correct?
It is the language.
So you, in my opinion, gave him no choice and gave his CEQA people no choice. That was required by the city. Even though, I mean, it's saying the proposed project site is anticipated to have a PUD designation. It doesn't state that it is necessary. And it's saying that sometime whenever in the future, when we change our general plan, it's also saying that this proposed project requires a general plan amendment. It doesn't, as far as I'm concerned. He can be approved now for everything. And so I'm going to drop that subject because obviously it's not going to go anywhere with the way the city is operating with this project, which I am extremely disappointed about. And I'm going to ask you one more question, and then Madam Chair, hopefully that will be it. Why does he need a final track map and a tentative track map? Just for curiosity's sake. It's just another step that he wasn't anticipating, okay? And a final track map is probably in here somewhere, but it's in our conditions, and it's in the resolution. I assume. Okay, we got two revisions to this. Last one I got rather late today, and I proofed it as best as I could. So, and I still have a municipal code section in here about lot sizes that you did not provide me. All right, that I asked for 3 days ago. So I'm very unhappy with the way this happened. It's already happened. I do not want to hold this gentleman up any further. So if I'm finished with questions, and I'll make the motion to approve whenever you're ready.
Okay, anyone else have any questions, or I'd like to open the public hearing? All right, so I will open the public hearing. Is there public comment? I think you said there was someone on the line.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. State your
Hi.
name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Danny Astorgan. I have 2 parcels there in Needles adjacent to the property in discussion. Parcel number
What is your address?
parcel number 0185 06713000000, and also parcel number 0185 109 45 0000. And I just wanted to state that I am in favor for this project. I want this project to go forward. I think it's going to be very good for the community. However, with my 2 parcels, I've always thought until just today that there's a road that leads to our properties that we use to access our properties. But after hearing one of the gentlemen there, I didn't know that our property is landlocked until just now. So I'm not sure if this is the right place to bring that up or not. But maybe if there's a, I don't, I guess my question is this project gonna butt immediately up against our property line, or is there gonna still be the road that everyone is using today to get to the properties in the back? That's, it's just a question. I'm not sure.
There is no, there,
Go ahead, because I don't know that for sure.
there
With-
is no lease, no land lease to anybody for rights on that property. There has
So,
never been, and there will never be a lease to anybody for access across that property. There has never been. People drive on that road to go dump their debris by the golf course. They have couches and tires and batteries, and so it is not a access road. It's more of a trespassing. So
Because
the wall, the perimeter of the wall will be on my property line, which is touching your property line. And
Oh, so
within
there
all the
will
other
be-
homes on K Street.
so there will be a wall up.
There'll be a 6-foot perimeter wall all the way around the property, and it'll be gated with private streets, private sewer, private power, private storm drain, private roads.
Okay. I just wasn't aware of that. At this time, I think even the sheriff's department patrols back there, they use that. The railroad uses it. I mean, it appeared to me that was, and if you go to Google Maps, it just appeared to me that was always a road. And I didn't know, I don't think anyone knows any different. It's being used.
Yes,
constantly.
I have a title company, and my engineers have pulled your title, my title, surrounding properties, surrounding my property, and there is no access, there is no easement. There has never been.
Madam
How do
Chair.
how do the utility companies go and maintain everything back there, all the power and utilities? Oh, so
Madam
there is-
Chair,
Well, he had his 3 minutes of public comment. I wasn't,
Oh.
um,
that's what I was gonna say. It's 3 minutes of
it's
uninterrupted.
not a discussion. It's open for your comment on this project. And so if you're finished with that, or I'll give you an additional 10 seconds to finish up.
Well, I guess I'd like to end by maybe if the applicant can please reach out to me. I'd like to try to resolve this issue and help this project move forward. Again, I really like it. I mean, I think it's good for the community. However, I don't want to be landlocked. I need some
Yeah.
type of access there. So
Okay.
I can give you my phone number, and if you'd like to call me and we can try to resolve this issue.
Yeah, you could contact the applicant then, or the applicant can reach you.
Okay.
So, thank you very
Your-
much.
Your sister owns the property in front of the property you bought. Can't you get
So-
access through her?
Okay.
No,
this
I
is-
guess it's different
this is
properties.
on-
Where there's a
Please
fence
stop.
around it. There's currently a chain link fence around the entire property, including the city's pump station.
Yeah.
So,
You guys can get together and discuss that. We're in a public meeting now, and that was public comment, and I appreciate you partaking in that. And the two of you could get together and discuss that if you'd like.
okay.
So if there's any other public comment? If not, I'd like to close the public hearing. Are there any other questions from the commission, or you would like to discuss anything? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
And I, just a
We'll make
moment, and I believe that motion was to include the flexible hours of work.
Yes.
So you
I'll,
want
go-
to,
I'll go ahead and read it. If you could please remind me by the time I get through reading all these ends, I could possibly forget.
yes,
I'll make a motion to approve, recommending approval of a 60 lot tentative tract map number 20478 for a 58 single family townhome recreational vehicle pads on assessor's parcel number 0660-301-13-0000, 0185-058-15-0000, 0185-067-15-0000, 0185-067-20-0000, 0186-021-01-0000, and 185-109-48-0000, and the adoption of a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program with a revision to the hours listed in the conditions of approval to include, the applicant has requested that he be allowed flexible hours, especially during the summer months which is like 6 months out of the year, for when the temperatures are really hot, subject to approval by the city manager.
Okay, and Kevin, you want to second?
Yes, I'll
with those
second that.
amendments? All right, all those in favor, and Dale, maybe you need to call for the vote so we can, because we have a couple online. Dale, you want to call, ask each vote?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay. Commissioner Rath, are you still available?
Yes, aye.
Chair Kidd,
Yes.
Commissioner Beard,
Yes.
Commissioner Ospey,
Yes.
Dressler,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosco.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, no oppositions, is unanimous. Thank you very much. And thank the applicant. It looks like a great project, so I really appreciate it and we'll look forward to watching it.
And we have a grocery store coming.
Thank you
Which
very
will
much.
It's
serve
beautiful.
all of North
You guys,
Hills.
it's going to be something for us,
It's gonna
for
be
everybody.
awesome.
It's beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. Okay, we'll move on to the regular items in appointing a chair and vice chair for the calendar year 2023. So I will open the nominations for chairman.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Linda Kidd as chair.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Then I'll open the nominations for a vice chair for the calendar year 2023.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Michael Wright.
I'll second that. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. Did Bob vote on that? I didn't hear.
Yes, I
Okay.
did. Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. Congratulations, Mike. Then the number 3, the discussion regarding returning to one regular monthly planning commission meeting. I had asked Patrick to put this on. I think it's been about a year now that we were doing the 2 meetings a month to accommodate developers or anything that came before us. And I believe it had something to do with the way they put it in the paper and when the paper came out. But in looking at, we haven't had a lot of items coming before us, and I just felt like maybe we should discuss this. I think maybe one meeting, we can get everything in. And again, if there's anything that comes up to have a special meeting, I think most of us are, amenable to doing a special meeting. So I guess I wanted to get a kind of an idea of what everybody thought about that. So I'll ask for any recommendations or consideration of that.
Madam Chair, I'd like to respond to that. I totally agree. I think now we've had so many canceled meetings. I'd like to go back to the first Wednesday of the month. I think things went smooth that way. It's easy to remember. And I think that's all that's necessary. And I think there'd be a little less sometimes, getting rewrites or something right to us right at the end. Some of these projects are pretty big. And that's a lot of paperwork. And I think, I just think it'd be better. So my vote is for one meeting the first week. That's just how I feel.
Okay. Anyone else have any suggestions or
Madam
opinions?
Chair,
Go ahead, Barbara.
it doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know too. Anyone else? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to to change it back to the one meeting.
I'll make that motion to go back to the first Wednesday of the month.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, unanimous. Thank you. We're back to the first Wednesday of each month.
Dale voted for aye also.
Madam Chair,
Probably. Go ahead, Will.
just for, no, Patrick, just for clarification,
Yeah,
we will take this to the council for approval. The
Okay.
council will need to approve it, and so we'll get that to them ASAP.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, number 4 is on the short-term rental updates. Just kind of wondering how that's going through and when we can expect, if the letters have been sent out, what kind of response you've had, and when we can expect some action on it.
Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission, so as you all know, on April 26th, the City Council adopted the new ordinance for short-term rentals. And so that's when we started to put into place a permitting structure which allowed individuals to rent out their short-term rentals. And so in addition to that process, we went and bought a software which was recommended to us by the code enforcement department. So we've been able to identify exactly who's online, when they're online, how long they're online, are they actively online, you know, where are they online? And so, and it's fantastic. And so it was a really great move for the city. So we've got we have a full understanding of the market of who's active and who's not active. Now, so that's just the status of our parameters and knowing where we're at. On November 8th, 2022, the voters of Needles voted in Measure N, which added a TOT transit occupancy tax of 10% to be charged to the bills of guests. So in addition, so prior we weren't doing that because it wasn't within the code. And recall this came to this board. And so finally, after it went from you, it went to the council, and the council put it on the ballot. And so it's our pleasure to announce that as of December 24th, all short-term rental owners are required that are on the hook for the 10% transit occupancy tax. Now, there's various departments that are involved with this process. And I just want to briefly go over them. So the billing office takes in the applications, takes in the money for the short-term rental. Code enforcement and building then go to the site, and I look at the site, make sure there's no public safety health issues, and then they give sign off to the billing office. The billing office then issues a short-term rental permit and a business license to these individuals, and then they go rent out their house. And then at the end of the month, the finance department works with these platforms to recoup the money. And those agreements are currently going into place. Yes, sir.
Question.
Yeah,
I
Randy, you have
thought,
a question? Go ahead.
sorry, I thought before it was finalized, I thought there was a notification requirement for the neighbors. Did that get
Mhm.
pulled out of the requirements?
So right now, of the short-term rental properties, we're in the process of, so you're right. So that hasn't gone into effect yet, and we're phasing this in. So we will, with those 22, so these 22 short-term permits, about 6 of them have been issued. So we'll go ahead and for those 6, we'll send a notice out to the property members. And if there's any concerns, and they know how to get a hold of the property owner. And so we will go through that process.
Is it 500 feet or 300
I
feet?
believe
or
it's 300 feet. So
300
we'll
feet.
go ahead and do a 300-foot notice to all those folks that are, but of those 22, so of the 22 that are online, basically, or not online, active, they 18 are trying to get into compliance. And so to answer your question, Madam Chair, city, this letter that you have behind this front page went out to the property owners. Instantly, folks started calling us and letting us know, hey, I got to bring my property into compliance. What is this all about? So we've been educating the public basically since December 5th. So again, we're trying to do this as an educational piece, not with the stick, but there are folks, 2 of them, that have not responded at all. And so those folks are starting, and as you can see from the fine assessment, they will receive their first violation from the city because they have made no effort. The city isn't, we're about compliance and working with property owners. We're not about issuing citations and collecting fines and all. That's just if we get to that point, and only a couple have gotten to that point. And so we have this program, other than the 300-foot notices. We have it under control. We have the data. We know who's, for instance, this past year, there were 29 short-term rental average per month with a $220 per night stay. And so that's good. I mean, for a community like ours, that's fantastic. And I can only see these going up. But some folks did say, oh, well, this is going into place. I'm gonna take my property off. And so some folks did take their properties off of the listing, and we were able to verify that because we went onto our program and identified that they had taken their property off and currently not renting out. Some folks, what they do is during the winter, they rent it out for long term.
Right.
Anything over 30 days, we stay out of. It's none of our, we don't get involved, but anything less than 30 days per the code for short-term rentals and the tax code, we do get involved. And so we are seeing compliance other than a couple. And people are learning about it and we're educating them and we are moving this program forward.
Yeah, we need to get it out there and in place so that we start getting a revenue from it.
Madam
So,
Chair,
thank you. Yes, go ahead.
a question to Patrick, and I think during our, when the committee was looking into this initially, one of the things that we discovered was that VRBO and the other agencies, or Airbnb, they needed a formal notice from the city stating what their, what their parameters are for the TOT tax, so they could then implement charging the people that rent on their platforms that tax and then pass it on to the city. Have we worked on getting that information to them, or what's the status of that?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Yes, so both Barbara, our finance department has reached out to both Airbnb and VRBO. We are working with them to set up a remit TOT tax program, which is an agreement it's a voluntary collection agreement that we need to enter into. And so they're currently working on that. That is on their to-do list and it is a priority based on the direction that we received from the city manager to get this up and running. He has had numerous meetings with us to ensure that we are on track and that we are putting this program into effect properly. And so to answer, that was a long answer, but basically, yes, we are working with these platforms to collect the taxes. Now, VRBO, at the moment when we updated our ordinance, took us off their website. And so because we just don't have, and we're getting mixed reviews because some folks are still on it. So they're trying to figure out who's on it and who's not. But they had to update their website based on our new regulations and they just it didn't pencil for them. So that it's on their to-do list to put us back on VRBO, but that we have seen the platforms respond based on the actions that we've taken here at the city.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds great. Any other questions for Patrick, or we'll move on to 5, the Brown Act and teleconferencing update.
Yes, Madam Chair, in front of you, we've got new regulations. So we're all aware of the Brown Act, and you've already got all the documentation, so I don't want to bore you with it or make this longer than it has to be. But basically, there were some rules that were in place that allow us to attend remotely. Now we're reverting at the end of February. We are reverting back to the old rules where if you do attend remotely, you do have to post on your door. Say you're at a hotel room or whatnot. We also have to post on the agenda where you are, just in case a member of the public wanted to come and touch base with you and be a part of the meeting. In addition to that, you're allowed to have 2 meetings where you just aren't able to attend without providing any note with cause. Like if you've got, say your babysitter didn't show up, or you've got to run somebody to the hospital or something like that, you have 2 of those a year that you're able to utilize. Um, and basically, Mr. Daniel, basically, and also you can do an emergency. So that's the emergency just cause. And so basically it's all, if you see this second chart, it's all laid out there. So, but if you plan on not attending a meeting, just let Dale know that you won't be attending, you get an excuse absence. That hasn't changed. But if you do plan to attend remotely, please let us know so that we can add it onto the agenda. The quorum requirements, someone needs to be in the city in order for within the local boundaries. And so basically the old rules are going out that were set with COVID and the state of emergency, and we're reverting. It's back to that, let's get people back in the offices mentality kind of thing. So that's what we're seeing. And these are all state laws that have been enacted by the governor.
Okay. Very good, thank you. And number 6, the MJ BizCon presentation by Planning Commissioner Beard. Barbara?
I'm here.
Uh-huh.
So how do you want to? So
Your PowerPoint that you set up.
well,
for me.
I've got images. We're going to use the images.
I'd like your PowerPoint presentation as we agreed.
Oh, show the images.
I've been strong-armed to do this.
So like any time that we go to a conference, a planning commissioner goes or a city council member goes, it's important that they share with the board their experience, and especially with cannabis. We too send our code enforcement team to this conference, but from a planning, and I have attended myself as well. So from a planning as a planning staff. So as the planning commissioner attending, I think it was very meaningful that she attended to give us, an idea of her experience and basically, who she ran into, what she ran into. And here I'm gonna share the screen for those of you on the line so you can see the images.
How do I control the images?
No, I'm gonna control the images. So let me know and I'll here. Yeah, so just click on the various images. Right, so just click on the image, every image that you have. So
Do I need to hold this on his base? Okay,
you can use it. The wood's fine.
that's from
Like this. Oh, is it nothing? So what you're gonna do is you see these images on the right. As you go, you're just gonna click them, and you can talk about them.
So I have to click each one. So
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not PowerPoint.
So it's not a PowerPoint. They're
I'm gonna go
individual.
down here so I can see better. Okay, so when I first got to first of all, after talking to code enforcement, I discovered that there is this incredible conference that goes on apparently once a year. It's global, not just statewide or California-wide or 5-state area-wide. And I spent probably 45 minutes with Bernie learning about some problems I'm having with the Stizzy construction and the odor complaints coming off the freeway from the Lily Hill project. And I wanted to find out if there was any construction correction that we can make these people use to get the odor down or the noise down. And that was my primary reason for going. I had to be in court Monday and Tuesday. The only day I could go was one day. I chose one day, expo only. So that's what I'm going to tell you about what I saw. Bernie went to the entire conference. When you get a ticket for the entire conference, you also get to go to classes. They have an agenda that just doesn't quit. It goes on and on and on. It's absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything that size before. So you check in and you get this, and it's your name and who you are, your business and your picture. expo only attendee, okay, because that's all I went for. Bernie's would be anything he wanted to attend. And I was short on time, so I drove in the morning it started, got there before it opened, and organized as much as I could on the schedule. But there were, I think the agenda says there were however many exhibits it says. The numbers were different. I'm sorry, I left it up there, but the square footage was more than's indicated on the little memo that the city gave. And the number of exhibitors was more. I think it says 1,400. There were well over 1,600 when I got there. And the number kept going up. The people that attended were all very courteous, cooperative with each other. They were all seeking the latest in the equipment and the latest in whatever they were doing in their businesses. And the people that were the exhibitors were all very helpful. They asked what they could help me with. If I'm standing here trying to figure out what this is and what's going on in the industry and whatever, I have people coming at me to see if they can help me and understand anything. And I would usually tell them, no, I'm just watching, just looking, because I didn't care about that part. Okay. So as I went through, I took photographs and I asked that these be in order, and they're not. Okay. This just happens to be, well, you just clicked on something else. This just happens to be the Stizzy exhibit. Okay. That's up there right now. And you know, Stizzy's right. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. The big one over on Victory and 95, the big 4 buildings. That is one of the guys that operates Stizzy right there. And I asked, oh, well, what exhibits do you have? Well, we don't have any of the exhibits because we subcontract. In other words, that's what he explained. And I went around and looked at all the different tables that he had and moved on. So, but that was Stizzy. Now, when I first got there, they're not. You have the picture that I sent you to add on to the beginning. This is the first photograph. Okay. Are they not in order either?
They're ordered by number, by the number they were taken. See how it says 47, 21, 22.
These aren't in the order that I gave them, but whatever. So most of these are, I can't see that well from this angle. Suppose we can, there we go. Most of these are equipment pictures anyway, and there is one contractor. I'll just take you through the exhibits. That's basically what these are. I did not expect to have to account for my attending this conference because I was there for one particular goal.
Where was that at?
Las Vegas Convention Center. And what I wanted to tell you and show you, the first thing that happened when I got there and checked in was I was told to go through out to the front because I checked in on the first floor, and that's where you had to check in. And then I asked where the exhibit hall was, what direction, and they said, well, you have to go in through the front building, front of the building. I said, okay, so there's escalators and stairs. I didn't understand. Well, you have to go outside and take the car around or walk to the front of the building, which is very long, a long ways away. Or you can take the vehicles out front. And they said the vehicles are Teslas. So you get a ride in a Tesla through a Tesla tunnel and around the convention center and out to an area that's still underground, but it's escalators up to the first, the top floor. Okay. And then you go in the exhibit hall from there. So that was exciting when I first got there. And so then you start walking and you walk, and I walked and I walked all day long. I brought my cane because I figured I'd need it, and I did. And thank goodness I did. And Bernie said he saw me somewhere, but he didn't say where it was, and he kept going and I kept going. I didn't see him, so, but he was here when I was there. Now, there were at least I think he was there. Okay, this is one that this is the only one I found that had anything to do with what I was looking for. There were more on the agenda list, the exhibit list, but they were not what I was hoping to see there, even though their title was construction and building. cannabis businesses and buildings, whatever they're describing their building. There was nothing there that matched what I was looking for that I could see on the list. I did not have time to stop and talk to everyone or any, just this, well, I talked to several of them, but if it even resembled what I was looking for. But they were people like Cheryl Montenegro that were looking for clients, new business to get into managing for them, so they would do the construction. They would have, so this one stop, this one exhibit had UL. And I think we've all seen UL on that, I'm always forgetting what it stands for, but it's that things on all of our electrical storage.
United Laboratories.
Underwriters Laboratory. So I figured everybody would know that, okay? These people, this outfit here answered my questions. Now I need my phone. And there's 2 videos on here as well. So I'll just keep going through the pictures and see if I can find those first, and then I'll get my phone. I can't, there we go. So. I can't get it away from that mini screen down there. Okay, there we go. So I'll take you through all these. Now, I called these when I was in talking to Rick one day, big silver shiny things. I don't know what they all are. And Bernie was called in on whatever I was there talking to Rick about. And he overheard me say that. And he laughed and he said, well, you know, those big silver shiny things. Oh, this was a little treat along the way. It didn't have anything to do with cannabis, except that they painted it their cannabis color.
Viper.
Huh? What Viper? And it's a prototype. It's not number 2. This is number 1. So they hauled it down there. There it is. I thought that was magnificent. So I did stop and get pictures of that. Now, also, this was, I know, at least one of our cannabis dispensaries, it has something similar to this, but I've never seen this kind of layout. What'd you say?
Looks like a candy store.
Yeah, it does. And that could be a bad thing for children. Okay?
Yeah.
But in an adult store, it's fine. So I just took a picture because I could not believe that this does look like candy. All of it does. And it's all cannabis. Every last, but that's the lengths that they go to. And there were a lot of those sitting around. The lengths they go to make them look like candy and, you know, whatever. So,
So did they let you sample any of it? Oh.
the only thing I got a sample of was for collagen for my old lady skin. And I can't use collagen because I take warfarin. So she's, well, you know, you can't use it then. And she was from Iran, I think. And beautiful skin, beautiful lady. And she had very burned, a horrible complexion before she took whatever product this was. I have seen little sample packets like that, and I just threw it in the trash when I got home. I didn't try it. So here's more shiny things, silver shiny things. And these things, I saw a few price tags, and they're 7 digits on some of these machines. Yeah, that's what I thought. But some of these are just humongous. Some of these machines. Now that's just like a back in the back here. That is for growing up on shelves. This whole structure here. I have a different picture of it. I think there you can see part of it in the background. And there were more people. There we go. There were more people than I thought would be interested in that display. But it looks like a bunch of PVC pipe to me, like Legos. Okay, so this was, I think, when I first walked in, they were up front. There were a few vendors that are the main vendors throughout the booklet you get of all the exhibitors. And they do, here we go, odor. Okay, there's odor solutions. There are all kinds of outfits like that, but not as much as there are other booths. A lot of this was equipment, the latest in equipment that does, the equipment does it for you, like an AI or a robotic kind of mechanism. And I do have a video of one of those little machines. I thought it was fascinating. So, shrinking. All the guys. Now, as the day went on, it got a lot more crowded. You couldn't even get a bottle of water. You could not get lunch. The lines were too long. If there's anything here you want to see bigger, let me know. So I found this, and I'm into Elon Musk a little bit, okay? And so when I saw that, I thought of Elon Musk, okay? Going out into outer space on Mars, and space rockets and all that. But I admit this. Get something here. Got that. So I asked the artist if I could take pictures, and he said yes, and I asked if I could put them on Twitter, and he said yes, and so I did. And I sent one to Elon. I didn't get an answer. And I told him, I said, if you don't know what this is, ask your mom. I don't know if any of us are familiar with these names of companies, but all the growers probably are.
Probably pretty interesting if you can spend a lot of time there and really get into
Mhm.
looking at a lot of,
They come from all over the
Exhibits.
world for this
really.
convention, yeah. And there were a lot of Asians and like Saudi Arabia, or all that, they, Arabs, if you're Iran, Iraq, all those countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all those, they didn't look real friendly. And I can see, and I don't think they can speak any English, but you can see they're focused on the money. They were all about the money, and they had the look on their face like, how much can we get here? How much money is this all worth? Okay, so where are my two videos? Can you tell me, Patrick? Is there a file?
Pick that folder, yeah. It's
Okay.
gonna be the,
These are just two.
Did you talk with anyone about the odors then, or?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I couldn't hear you because it's really loud.
Okay.
I have one more video that's just like
Yeah,
that.
that's fine.
And I don't have a button to escape this.
right corner. Go ahead again. Right corner. Top. Very top, right hand. There you go. There you go. Yeah, they can't hear them.
These two right next to each other. But that's the noise you're hearing while you're there.
What was that rolling deal? Was that like a joint?
Well, and a lot of other things I think going on there too. But
Yeah, it looked like you just take it and light it up. Been told. Well, I was gonna ask if you knew what it
that's what that machine was for, you've been told?
Yeah.
Well, and they had a lot of rolled joints there in the start, didn't they? The
Mhm.
final product, and they start, I wonder if that was the cannabis rolled up. Okay, let me see if I can get this on the microphone. I was very concerned about the Riverlux project, not doing this. I almost forgot I was gonna do it. So.
You want the audio versions?
But that's right, you have them.
Yeah, I have. Hold on.
Cause they were gonna find these on my phone. And this is the one, now, the reason I'm concerned about the Stizzy buildings is because I live in the neighborhood, okay, I'm a few blocks up. And I am getting louder in my speech. I know I'm getting a hearing problem. I'm not gonna do anything about that. I'm old enough where I'll adjust. Okay, so it's because of the noise. It started a few months ago. I realized my voice is increasing in volume. And the noise, listening to them doing the construction, I thought they were doing the operation partly because they were under construction for so long. They were starting sometimes at 3 or 4 in the morning, okay? That is unacceptable when you're in the middle of a resident, right next to a residential area, okay? So, I'm not happy with them at all. And Mr. Daniels told them not to. They did it anyway, from what I understand. So I wanted to know if, because I asked Cheryl Montenegro on the addition, when she came before us for the addition on the one over by Taco Bell. I asked her about refractive noise, okay? And of course, it's wide open in front of her, okay? They have residential at Stizzy on their one side. I am picking up every truck on the 95, all the railroad. Now, I used to live down Broadway, so the railroad I love. It doesn't put me asleep if anything. So the clunking of the cars, the connecting of the
too.
cars and everything, huh? You love
Puts
it?
me to sleep too,
Yeah, I love it. And I can feel the vibrations.
especially about 10 at night.
So, and then, but the I-40, I can hear everything magnified. Okay, if I could have heard of it all before they built those buildings, it was very, very faint or not at all. I put a decibel counter in my phone, a decibel app. It's too confusing. I don't understand all of it, so I gave that up. And I always thought that they were already up and operational. When it turns out during all this horrible noise going on, it was all only construction. And I was told by Bernie that if you go over to Cheryl's place over by the taco place and you sit in the parking lot, you will not hear any noise while they're not doing construction because the hot places are quiet. Well, I agree with that. As I'm driving by them, I never hear anything going on. That is not what I'm experiencing over there. And that's how I started studying refractive noise. So the refractive noise is just what it says. It's because the buildings are side by side and length to length next to each other. They're bouncing off, the noise bounces off and gets louder, like a megaphone mic, okay? I don't know exactly how it works, but the closer you put them, and I brought that up when the guy applied for a permit down in L Street, K and L Street, and we denied them, but he had paid attention to that. When I brought it up with Cheryl about the taco place, she knew what I was talking about immediately, because there are problems. Her response, if you will recall, was, well, that's what you get when you have commercial buildings. No, it's not, okay? Not if they're, so what I'm gonna play here, that's what I was looking for, solutions for the building. Bernie gave me some ideas, and you get 2 or 3 solutions. By adding, you can add faux rock, you can add this, you can add whatever else. I think there were 3 different things you can add to the outside of the building. But those things are huge and it's gonna cost a lot of money, okay? Now, they are committed to no noise in their conditions. That is noise, and it's not noise that's going to stop, not the refractive noise. Construction ended, and then the only construction I was told we have left to do is their parking lot. They're still doing their parking. And they're still doing it at hours they probably shouldn't be doing. And I had to call the sheriff's department one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it was for a project up in Safari. I had to get out and go find where it was because it wasn't stopping. And so somebody was doing something. I called the sheriff's because I was just so ticked off anybody would be doing the backup sirens on the big trucks, the construction trucks, the warning lights, the warning sounds. The sirens are going off at 3 in the morning. So I drove around. I wasn't the only one. Other cars or other residents are trying to find the source of the noise. I went home. I took a couple sound recordings, went home, called the sheriffs, told them. They came around. They said, can't see anything or hear anything. We don't know what it is. I said, well, I have recordings. Do you want me to take you up there where I recorded them? Well, all of a sudden they found it. So they said, well, somebody's laying concrete.
Backup alarms.
Huh?
Backup alarms on the cement trucks.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew what it was. I just didn't know why they would do that at 3 in the morning in the middle of a residential area. Okay. So, and it did that is just insane that you would do that and have absolutely no respect for everybody around you. So they said, well, we can't do anything about it. They always say that. And I said, so you can't get them for disturbing the peace? No, well, you can sign a complaint if you want. Come into the sheriff's station in the morning and, fill it out. A lot of good that did while it was going on. So the sheriffs were worthless too. Nothing they could do unless I had to get out and go over and visit them, I guess. And I wasn't gonna do that. So I thought that and there were two vehicles, two sheriff's deputies, and I thought by having the sheriffs out there, the people doing it were gonna realize that they were disturbing the peace. They just kept doing it. They didn't care. And they were doing it while the deputy was talking to me on the phone. They didn't care. They just kept it up and they let him do it. They didn't even say anything to him, apparently. So anyway, so I'm looking for noise because I've been driven crazy by Stizzy, the buildings themselves. The construction never bothers me, but now it's refractive noise that we're all stuck with over there, okay? So I went to this convention to see if I could find out who the contractors, what they could tell me, what contractors could tell me that were used to building buildings for the cannabis industry. Well, I found one, okay? But I may have been able to find more if I had had more time. So these recordings, I asked the guy a couple questions. And this is what they said. This is the UL guy, okay? Say it again.
So the cannabis smell can travel up to 5 miles.
And for how long? Right over it.
It depends on the weather condition. If it's like humid, windy.
I have it over here.
Huh?
I have it on my computer. Because for whatever reason, it won't open on that computer. It opens up on mine though really well. I'm gonna play it.
You can hear it. I can hear what he's saying.
Okay.
Which one, can you tell which one was first? I can't see the numbers.
Yeah, you got the 082336 or 082528. So
Do the lowest number first. I don't remember why I have two. One of them is 2,000 some bytes and the other one's only 400. Say it again.
So the cannabis smell can travel up to 5 miles.
And for how long?
So it depends on the weather condition. If it's like humid, windy, or something. So up to 5 miles in I would say average situation.
Average air without being
Yes.
windy.
Yeah.
So if we have major winds, which we do in Needles, then it's traveling
Yeah.
more, faster.
Normally, based on all of the tests we did, 5 miles is the maximum.
Okay.
Accessibility shortcuts, 17 items, voice guide.
okay, that was your first one. So it talked about wind and how far the noise can travel. For the first one, yes. You got another one though.
477 bytes. Okay, let's see what he says. So the question is, how does steel buildings mitigate the noise factor? The refractive noise from the outside. Bouncing and making noise all over. Well, I don't know if there's any refractive noise created from the inside, but I know it is from the outside. So I'll take both answers.
So when we're talking about the inside, it's a little easier because generally buildings are built in, they have more structure like concrete or drywall, it's finished out differently on the inside, which can absorb a lot of the sound that is on the inside. Building specifically like insulation is absorbing a lot of that sound from rain on the roof and things like that, different levels of different thicknesses of insulation. When we're talking about the exterior, it gets a little more difficult. You can, with a traditional steel building that has steel on the outside, you can have different profiles on the exterior of the building that can help mitigate that sound. However, it's still going to be really hard to escape that hurdle. So what I also say is, if someone is having a level of noise that's a concern on the outside of the building, steel siding might not be the best way to go. Maybe use brick, use wood, still build a steel building with different exterior materials that are more sound absorbing. That can extract that sound a lot easier than traditional steel.
Now, I was told that these buildings were built of tin. Does that translate to steel? It's not zinc, right? It's cheap steel.
So we build in our buildings, it's 26 gauge, 24 gauge steel paneling, so steel paneling, which is going to be a lot stronger than traditional, let's say 10. Or something like that. You see that sanded aluminum and a lot of storage facilities like mini storage. You see that used a lot, just so it covers them, not necessarily protects the buildings. So you can literally take a hammer and go into a wall versus if you have the building behind it, you take a hammer, it's coming right back and you're barricading the dents. So that's the difference. The building we're in right now, you can see the flooring up there, that's 24 and 22 gauge steel. We offer that in the buildings, that's it.
Why go with 10 instead of steel? The cost? Is there anything that you know of or a source that you can send me to that might be able to mitigate some of the sound after construction?
Yeah, again, it would all be the types of materials you put on the outside. Talking about the outside of the building. It'd all be the types of materials. When we're talking about mitigating sound, steel is not the best material to put on the outside of the building to mitigate sound. It really isn't. Using rock, brick, wood, hardy board, things like that.
Is there anything that can be put on top of the already existing buildings? I mean, on the walls,
Yes, you can
on
attach.
the outside.
Yeah, you can attach like a faux rock, a faux brick, all kinds of stuff. You can screw it right into the steel panels. It literally attaches right to that steel battery that's there. So you can do wood, literally attach planks of wood, screw right to the steel panel. And so that covers it all up. That would help mitigate the sound and everything.
Here we go. Eric? Everybody understand what my point is? Right here. I don't think that.
I could see where it's reflecting the noise. It's just like a mirror on that metal. If it was wood or brick, it's gonna absorb it.
Mhm,
That metal is just gonna reflect just like a mirror.
mhm.
And a lot of
Sound
times, some of these architectural enhancements that we've asked for and stuff, maybe on Cheryl's and some are like a foam.
Mhm.
And that foam absorbs a ton, but it's not over the huge expanses of metal. And foam panels are, compared to wood, stone, brick, quite a bit less money. So, if we have situations where maybe there's 4, maybe if 2 were, one reflecting the other, maybe one side could be required to have foam panels on that. Foam would be a lot less expensive than requiring some of these other materials. Geez, you start going wood siding and some of these other things, then it's gonna send their prices or their construction costs through the roof, but
I don't think, based on what I already knew and based on what I heard, I think 10, I don't think we should allow anybody to use 10 anymore. It's the cheapest, okay? I don't know what the metal is when they are using like the gentleman that purchased the old nursery. They were, and also Cheryl's across the street, they were all gonna use the same kind of metal paneling. I don't know, what is that, aluminum?
no, it's steel. Aluminum's way too expensive. Nothing is really done in aluminum anymore.
So it's-
Well,
it's-
some of those might be lined with foam or something too, already.
What's the one down here, the black, with the black walls? Is that foam or stucco?
The top of it is foam.
Yeah.
Which one? The one on 110 105 West Broadway?
Probably.
The initial one, the one that's got the,
It's all black walls.
By
on
the
this-
grill place?
Yeah, by the Econo's small.
yeah. So that's 105 Broadway. That used to be a tavern so they put foam up top. Yeah, it's all foam that they've glued onto the building.
Yeah,
We
they,
required them to do a lot. They built, that was one of our first ones, if not the first one.
a
And
lot,
Kevin insisted on that.
a lot
One
of
Marriott.
construction, they'll use those false foam facades and
like that.
whatnot. And they smear that stucco over it, so when it's done, it appears to be concrete or brick or whatever. It's really just foam with some stucco smeared on
Where
it.
is that?
A lot of homes, or even a lot of, you see like a strip mall or a CVS or whatnot, at the top, they'll have those crowns or whatnot
Facade,
along
yeah.
a facade along the perimeter at the top. It's all made out of foam. And then they butter it up with stucco and paint it. And it looks like it's something solid when it's really just.
But it will absorb the sound probably a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I
Another
just hope
siding.
that there's a way we can, I don't know what to do with this because I don't know enough about the industry. But I think something needs to change when you're near any residential areas, okay? And I cannot, I mean, the people that I mentioned, that I talked to, I only talked to a few. I did a couple evictions down in that, it was three, it's Riverview, Desert View, and Cherry. And I talked to some people over on Riverview. There were complaints coming in. Somebody wanted to sue because of the noise and other complaints. And I don't know if I even returned that call. I'm not sure by the, I'm listening to what, you know, I may have, it may not have been me that he called. I may have heard it someplace else. He was really mad and he lives on Riverview. I did an eviction on Riverview. They had issues. There was a lady that came here, I think, one night, and she made some she was very unhappy about those buildings, but it had nothing to do with the noise. It may have had something to do with, couldn't have had something to do with the odor. Maybe it was the odor, but the odor, according to Bernie, is coming from the Lily Hill project, which is Stizzy now. And am I pronouncing that correctly? Stizzy? Okay, and apparently that facility down there on Lily Hill creates such odor that it enters some kind of an airstream on the I-40 and it travels and it goes all the way around and on. You know, maybe it makes it all the way to San Bernardino. I don't know after that, okay? But it's trapped. It's like it's trapped. It can't go any up. That's according to Bernie, code enforcement. He knows what's going on with these odor complaints. We're getting complaints more and more often. And I know that they're coming from there based on Bernie's explanation of the source of it. So, but I can't smell it. So I don't know. The only concern I have is the noise, and it's too late unless we can figure out something that they can do. They are prohibited from noise somehow in the building, but I don't know, they haven't even started, and apparently they have somebody that's on speaker on the phone.
Are we still on the presentation item?
Yes. Are you bored now? Want to come and help? Okay, so that was my issue. That was why I went, okay? And I don't have anything else to say except please consider something different other than what these people are using in the residential areas. I would probably end up voting no if something isn't done in the future about any new building. You can, after what I've had to go through personally. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank
Good
you.
information. Let's move on to board requests. We'll start, well, Michael's not there, I guess Barbara?
Pardon me?
Yes?
I have nothing.
Okay. Bob?
I have nothing.
Kevin?
Well, I do have some things this
That's
time.
good.
Even though it's been a long meeting, and Mr. Daniels may actually, in his report, may talk about these, so if he does, please, let me know. I had a question, one about the underpass. I think I heard that, is that something you're gonna be? Okay, great.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
BNSF, it's been reported to us from internal to BNSF that they have signed the agreement, which is the lease for where we're gonna put the pedestals and Stu's last step. Not received that yet, but we just were told that they had signed it. But we're starting to get our contractor, who we entered into a contract with, remind him that we're ready to go. So as soon as I get that letter in my hand, we're dropping the white flag and we're gonna start this.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Good.
I had another thing, a long time ago, and there's been a lot of talk. I know a study was done on North Needles Water and Sewer.
We do have a plan that was, it's a high level plan, but it's conceptual in the sense it's not detailed engineer. But it was roughly, it'll cost about $45 million to put water and sewer into North Needs. There's a couple ways to get there. One of which would be different types of, they're all various types of benefit assessment district, local improvement districts, whatever. And then there's the ability to phase, like maybe we go up to, and I'm just making this up, this is a proposal. Maybe we extend the water and sewer to Riverfront Buffet. And then maybe to Palms River Resort. We could look at different phasing schemes based on affordability and development pressure. But that's how it is most likely to be implemented.
Okay. At one time, there was talk about some developers of bigger projects
Yeah.
that maybe they're getting. Has that kind of gone away?
Well, it's gone away. We had one, there was a cannabis project about where that big yellow house is on the right.
Mhm.
Right across, that they under construction now.
Yes, sir.
They're under construction now.
Yeah.
Across from Fenders?
Yeah, they were going to run the line up there because they only need like a 2-inch line. In order to meet the needs, we need an 8-inch line. So we were in discussions with them about paying for the oversizing. Otherwise, we're just gonna have to come back and we'll have an 8-inch line next to a 2-inch line, which is it's just terribly inefficient. But we haven't had a major developer come in, a Sun City Needles, which would be wonderful.
Okay. Two more things, sorry. I know that at one time there was, and this has been talked about, the Broadway large mixed-use commercial residential.
Right.
I have seen nothing on that.
Council asked for a report on that. Patrick prepared that. As you recall, in 2019, we sold that property.
Right.
And then they had a year to start construction. That was a COVID year. So the council extended it, but didn't extend the deadline. What they did is they set milestones. You had to submit your plans by a certain date. You had to submit your permit application by a certain date. Well, they've met many of those, but the one that's coming up that they're not going to be able to meet is certificate of occupancy by May 3rd. Because they're not under construction. So at that point, the council will have a choice of terminating the sale. And in that case, we purchase the property back for 75%. What we sold it to them for. Or develop another schedule. And we're going to council in closed session for those property negotiations next Tuesday.
Okay. One other thing, the theater. I mean, there had been talk over time about a couple different buyers, and then it was going to be done. And I was just curious about that.
The theater is owned by Armin.
Godakian.
What?
All right, good. Yeah, Armin.
Yeah, let's just say Armin.
Okay.
And they had grand plans. They did put a roof, replace the roof that flew off and landed on Broadway. But nothing's evolved since then. So, let me answer your next question in advance, and that is, if you have an option of going to Bullhead, take Beatles Highway up to the Avenue, cut across, go up, what is that, Aztec or Cortez? Aztec, and then go up that. Because they have completed their under the bridge work. The bridge has been lifted up. And it's sitting on ball bearings.
By Laughlin?
No, here, the one.
Oh, the bridge here.
Right, so that chunk is essentially gone, but it won't be done until it's all done. But they have started the demolition of the decking. And so therefore they have established traffic signals. So they're using traffic signals rather than flag people. So there's,
Slow.
Delay.
so it was backed up all the way to Broadway on Needles Highway, 11 o'clock. So I would encourage people to use the alternate route. When I looked at having to go to Bullhead, it identified that it was 3 minutes longer to go past the Oppie.
Mhm.
That's gonna be a half hour or 15 minutes setting in line.
Are those lights on a timer?
Um, I believe so, but I'll check. They could be pressure plates. But I think it's timer.
We went through there last night and it was set for 3 minutes and it changed. So
Yeah.
it wasn't, it seems like forever, but it's only 3 minutes.
Well, I know,
If that's,
except, what I know what they've done is they've changed based on the time of day. The construction crew will, for example, in the morning, if the prevailing traffic is out, they'll adjust it to maybe 4 or 5, and then 2 coming back. But I do know that those get adjusted throughout the day.
My only other thing, sorry, is I would like to ask for an excuse absence for the meeting on the 1st. My son and I are going to be attending the International Business or Builder Show in Vegas for 3 days. I used to go every year and it's been probably about 10 years. So I'm sure it's
It's business
much bigger.
cards you can hand out for builders.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Make a video.
But can't remember.
Okay, Charles,
nothing.
Will,
I just got one or two questions. They're kind of both one and one. The grocery store, is there anybody coming? Have we heard anything more about any groceries coming in? I know that we just heard the applicant, Mr. West, saying that he was going to have a store, and I should have probably asked him when I had the chance if it's going to be if it's going to be inside his project only for the residents there, and B, if it's going to be nothing more than potato chips, beer, et cetera, et cetera. Or are we going to get a proper grocery store at some time in the future?
Anything 5,000 square feet is convenience store.
Right.
And then up to about 15 to 20 is the market. And then above, in 30, now you're talking about, Smith Safeway. We hired a marketing firm, an analytical firm that is the firm that the grocery industry uses to analyze whether to enter into a market. So let's say Kroger is looking to enter into this market. They would hire this firm and they would say, okay, here's all the stores, here's the population, here's how much leakage you're gonna have to Havasu or wherever, and this is gonna be your operating cost, and you're either gonna make it or not. So we did that. The good news is there's 13,728 people within 10 miles. Now, 9 years ago, when I first started this, we needed 10,000 and we only had about 4,200. But there has been enough development that we're now hitting into the sweet spot of where a market could go under the previous criteria. One of the problems that's happened is there's been a significant consolidation of the grocery industry. That Kroger has purchased. Yeah, and so everybody's putting on one of about 4 different jerseys. And so all that consolidation, and what grocery stores are doing is spinning off their weaker stores in weaker markets, and it hasn't been approved yet by FCC, no, SEC, that has to sign off on it to make sure there's no monopolies being created in different markets. So So that's slowed down the expansion of grocery stores. We're in the process of getting that market study to all grocers that are operating in the tri-state, meaning all the state, California, Nevada, all of Arizona. And because we want to talk to the finance team to say, this is a market that you should seriously consider. So that's underway. We've had a number of people talk about, well, I'll bring a grocery store, and then when you peel it back, we're talking about food. So but we were very close on the one from the Laughlin store, and I'm still a little angry at that. But and let me segue into some housing issues. In addition to the 35 new employees that were hired by the Hampton Inn opening up, we have 600 people that are employed in the cannabis industry. Of those 600 people, 450 live in Arizona. Because we didn't have 450 vacant housing for them to locate here. If we had those people here, that's another 1,500 to 2,000 people, which sweetens the attractiveness of Needles as a market. Or Applebee, I'll make Applebee's, a Pollo Loco, you name it. So we need to continue to get the numbers up, which is why the Riverlux project is very attractive, which is why we met today earlier with additional apartments on Coronado. Where we need housing because we've got to capture those people. Now, the industry will say they want their people living as close as they can to where. So,
Ask you a question?
Yep.
So the economist that was at city council meeting, he did an excellent job.
Yeah.
And I've been pushing for apartment buildings since I moved here, okay, because I'm a condo kind of person.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find a place to live when I moved here, okay? So, that's what he ultimately told us. The low hanging fruit is the empty motels
Yes,
to convert them into apartments.
yes.
That's what he's our economist, right? That's what our guy says we should be doing, all right? And I can see all those vacant motel rooms full of cannabis employees.
Mhm.
So how can we do that?
well,
Buy the property.
well, we're not going to get into the land development business, but how it happens is you stop the slum landlording that's going on at those places.
I'm talking about the closed ones. That's
I
what
know,
I'm
that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we need to jump on those people with both. And we are, there's one that's closed. It's about to be sent to a receiver. The other one is going to administrative hearing, and then we're going right to court to get it into somebody else's hands. Because
somebody that will do something like
right,
apartments.
and that's what a judge would look at, would be, okay, you're proposed to be a receiver. If I turn this over to you, what are you gonna do with it? Well, I'm gonna rehabilitate it and as apartments. Okay, then, okay, I'm gonna sign that to you. You do the improvements. If there's anything left over, Mr. Original Landowner, you'll get that, but there might not be anything. So basically, they're taking it.
Yeah.
Because the landowner hasn't been responsible.
Well, that's what receiverships are.
That's exactly what.
They put them in the
Right,
hands of the
right.
receiver to make money
So-
or keep them afloat.
So we are looking, and then we have probably half a dozen dilapidated houses that are going into receivership.
But do we not have 3 motels empty over there by the Hampton?
We have, yes, there's 3, one of which was purchased by the tribe. The one at the corner,
And boarded up, I think.
yeah.
And
And
what? They
Boarded
boarded it
boarded
up.
up. It-
They were gonna do a.
Yeah, it's worse.
And decided to hold off, and they're now in the 5-year process to have it added to the reservation. So I'm not expecting much activity there.
And there's nothing we can do about that.
No, stay on the lane.
Yeah, that one probably looks the worst of all of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, although I tell you, it gagged me to see some of the stuff at the Best Motel.
Yeah, I mean on the outside because the boarding up hasn't been
Yeah.
painted. If it's at least sprayed, it looks better.
That-
I forget what it was called.
So Rick, are you going into your manager's report or? First of all, Will, are you finished with your questions?
I'm finished. I'm just listening to the discussion.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was the last one. The only thing I have is I would like to congratulate Commissioners Beard and Rath for reappointments onto the Planning Commission. We appreciate you coming back on and sitting. I think we have a good commission, so that's nice. Thank you. Rick, then, did you want to
Thank you.
finish the manager's report?
Less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
On January 24th, Tuesday, January 24th at 10 o'clock is the reopening of the court here in News. Immediately thereafter, we're having a groundbreaking ceremony for the Lily Hill Booster Station, which is, we could push the water up so far, but after that, we need to push it further to get up to the tanks. We're gonna take that booster station, which sits in the middle, or not middle, but sits one lane, and push it up the hill. New pumps, new building. It'll look like a house. And that'll be a straight street, with sidewalks and the like. So, and then as soon as that one's done, there's a booster station at L Street Eagle Pass that also does the same thing, but it just feeds one tank, which is that high tank on the west end. We are knee deep in projects. To save time, I'll have Kathy Rosh, who's our capital projects manager, give you all an update on the status of the projects. We've got $7 million water treatment plant. There are bids out for now what amounts to about $8.5 million of park improvements. We have the school is, we shared the cost of adding LED lights to Nicky Bunch softball. They put in batting cages and all kinds of other improvements, about $400,000 of improvements to Nicky Bunch. Duke Watkins, the new park down at the river, First and Second Beach. Jack Smith Park is getting a 600-yard walking path with exercise stations. We are currently doing about $675,000 of power pole replacements to improve system reliability. So as you've seen it a lot up on J Street, but they're gonna work their way through the alleys in the vistas to get that done. We're in preliminary engineering on the next batch of road projects. We were able to do A, B, C, and D. We're doing E, F, and then there's some short segments of G, H. And the road up behind the THC, there across the Jack in the Box. But we'll also, in the spring, we'll get those done, and we will start up in the vistas on road paving. So there's Carty Way, and whatever the next street over. And then in the fall, we should be able to do the rest of the vistas area. Getting a lot of demand for rebuilding River Road. It's people are gonna be there's no way to expand that without it being a $1 million project, because the deck, it's got to fit on the peak of that deck. I'll have a presentation done by somebody who knows more than just the tips of the iceberg. Like, but their schedules, it's gonna be a construction zone.
That's
New
good.
Reservoir, East
Great.
End.
Yeah, thank you. Well, with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right. Nobody's going to oppose it, I'm guessing. Good night. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.